Hello, doctor. Hello, everyone. I'm Yao Yajing. We are group 13. The member of our group are Nwonki, Jonah, Kason, and me. We choose the automotive industry as our final project study. Next slide, please. This study focuses on analyzing the automotive industry in Malaysia by targeting the top two national automobiles, Proton and Perodua. In analyzing the structure of the industry, Porter's 5 forces were used to analyze the competitiveness that shaped the industry in Malaysia. Next slide. The global automotive industry has a history of more than a century of development. With its unique characteristics, the global automotive industry has formed an oligopoly pattern with high production concentration. Malaysia is the third largest automobile manufacturer in ASEAN and the third largest automobile market in ASEAN. Second only to Thailand and Indonesia. Since the manufacture of the first domestic car Proton in 1983, the automotive industry became one of the main industries supporting the economy. Malaysia has two major local brands, Perodua and Proton, both of which are the main players in the domestic passenger car market. Other major brands are 6 Japanese companies. Next slide, please. This figure shows an overview of national car brands, Proton and Perodua, market shares from 2001 to 2020. Along with non-national car brands, the national car brands accounted for 62% of the Malaysian market in 2020, which is the highest combined score of Perodua and Proton since 2003. Conversely, foreign brands accounted for 38% of last year's sales, well below the peak of 53%. At the current date, the domestic car brands maintain its dominant position on the market against the foreign cars in Malaysia's automotive industry. Next, please. First, let's look at Perodua. Founded in 1993, Perodua is the second national automobile manufacturer in Malaysia. At present, it has the first market share in Malaysia. Since its establishment, Perodua has been cooperating with Daihatsu, a Japanese automobile manufacturer. Daihatsu has provided Perodua's automobile with the design and the main components from engine to gearbox. This means that all Perodua vehicles use Daihatsu technology. However, the third generation Perodua, mainly launched in 2017, was designed and manufactured entirely in Malaysia, which is an important milestone for the company. Although Perodua started 10 years slower than Proton, it caught up and became the most popular car brand in Malaysia. Next slide, please. Okay, next, let's look at Proton. Proton Automobile is a national automobile brand in Malaysia. It was established in 1983 under the leadership of the Malaysian government. Proton was once the largest domestic car in Malaysia, but its sales decline in recent years was surpassed by Perodua. In 2017, the troubled Proton chose to cooperate with Geely Group. since Geely Group acquired 49.9% of the shares of Proton Automobile, the sales volume of Proton Automobile has started to rise and now ranks second. Next part, I will pass to Kesson. Thank you.
All right. Good day, guys. Next, I'll be talking about 5 forces analysis of the industry. The 5 forces model estimates and examine the 5 competitive forces that configure and assist the organization's strengths and weaknesses. So it is often used to examine the structure of organization governing its strategy. So this model is suitable for the application for any type of industry to intensify the long-term profitability. So the Porter 5 forces are commonly applied to estimate competition, marketability, and profitability of any industry in the competitive market. So the 5 Porter forces are power of supplier, power of buyer, competitive rivalry, threats of substitute, threats of new entry. So let's talk about power of supplier first. So the supplier power, the bargaining power of supplier is connected to the potential of vendors to speculate prices, cut back of qualities, and restrict the number of products or services that will be selling to the manufacturer. So the number of supplier usually determines the bargaining power of the supplier. The relationship between the automotive industry and automotive components manufacturing form a symbiotic relationship, which means that the growth of the automotive components manufacturing industry is directly proportional to the performance of overall automotive industry. So Proton and Perodua are highly dependent on imported components and parts where it requires high technology. So when it comes to components which require low technology, there will be ranges of suppliers to supply parts to Proton and Perodua at a very competitive price. So bargaining power of supplier is moderate for low-tech component and high for high technology components. So the power of buyer. This force refers to the stress that consumer can apply on business to get the business owner to supply better standards product and greater after-sales service and even at lowest price. In other words, willingness for consumer to spend on product. So factors that affect the consumer buying decision are prices, performance, quality, appearance, and effects to the environment. So buyer can switch supplier of auto cars if other product can satisfy their preferences and requirements. So the demand of auto car in Malaysia is relatively high due to huge customer base. However, the market of the national cars are preferences for middle income and low income level due to the pricing factors. So when we talk about switching costs, it will be high. Well, this is due to foreign brands, vehicles that are expensive compared to local. And backward integration of consumer is not possible in these cases. So causing the bargaining power of buyer to be medium or slightly low. So next would be Stephen.
Okay. So next I'm going to talk about competitive rivalry, trade-off substitute, and trade-off new entrants. So competitive rivalry mean how instant the competition is in the marketplace. It considers the number of existing competitors and what each one can do. There are few automobiles are operating in Malaysia, and the industry is led by 2 domestic manufacturers that are Proton and Perodua. The other automobile that are operating in Malaysia are Toyota, Mazda, Honda, and so on. But still, the industry is dominated by local companies, which Perodua has 39%, while Perodua has 39%, while Proton has 23% of market share. The industry follow an oligopoly structure where few players dominate the market and control the prices. The competition market in the industry is low due to protectionist policy that makes import automobiles expensive for the nation. So according to a study, many Malaysians prefer to use affordable car rather than expensive import car. Due to this reason, the market share of Proton and Perodua is high in Malaysia compared to foreign companies. So based on this, it can be said that the rivalry competition in the industry is moderate. Next slide. Another market force that impact the businesses is trade of substitute products or services. This force study how easy it is for consumers to switch from a product to another product. It examines the number of competitors, how their prices and quality compared to the business being examined, and how much of a profit those competitors are earning, which would determine if they can lower their cost even more. The substitute of automobiles are public transport, trains, buses, motorbikes that provide a similar service, that is transportation to the people. However, these substitutes do not provide the level of luxury and comfort that is associated with cars. So according to Islam and Abdullah papers, Malaysia public transport system is poor, so most Malaysians prefer to travel by their personal cars. So it can be said that the trade of substitute in the industry is low. Next slide. So the last market force that impact the performance of firm is the trade of associated with the new entrants. The trade of new entrants is the race a new competitor create for current companies within an industry. This occurs when a new company being selling a similar product or services as an existing company. So the trade of new entrants is low as Malaysia does not support new entrants, especially impose restrictions on foreign firms. Although there are many MNC are operating in Malaysia, but the import duty is high. So according to a research, Malaysia has reduced import duties on CKD and CBU vehicle import from Asian countries. Moreover, investment tax allowance is offered to firms that produce electric and hybrid vehicles. So by this, some companies are promoting import of specific vehicles, but the import duties are high for other vehicles. And automobile companies require a high amount of investment as well. Due to these reasons, the automobile industry of Malaysia is less imposed to trade from new entrants. So that's all for my part.
Hello, Professor. This is Joanne, and I will be presenting the conclusions. As for conclusion, Perodua and Proton have created a competitive advantage to differentiate from its competitors in order to stay in the marketplace. So fulfilling its criteria, which is valuable, rare, costly, and costly to imitate, and non-substitutable capabilities. So in addition to that, both local firms are heavily supported by government policies. Hence, Perodua and Proton attained a very strong and significant competitive advantage. So these two vehicle manufacturers are the majority of industry's market share. So based on the total sales of both firms and top 4 firm sales, it is found that Malaysia automotive industry has a concentration ratio of 0.85 or 85.2% that indicates it is an oligopoly type of market with the top for car producers accounting for more than 60% of total market shares in 2021. So as a result, the computed HHI is 2,196.9, indicating that the Malaysia automotive industry is a moderately concentrated industry. So it is very crucial for strategic decision making and in establishing a strong competitive advantage to understand the overall industry structure as well as the competitive forces. After analyzing the automotive industry in terms of Porter's 5 forces, it has laid out the firm's position and identified the firm's strengths and weaknesses to retain their customers. Next slide, please. So for the summary of 5 force analysis, the supplier power is moderate since the bargaining power of suppliers is a mixture of low and high, depending on the types of its parts. As for the buyer power, it's also moderate since the consumers can consider other alternatives before making a decision. So the buyer power is moderate as the customers are relying on the buyer's purchase and specific supplier. So sometimes, even though the national car is not as luxurious and cozy, the customers will opt for the cheaper pricing and they will choose it when it comes to budget. As for the threat of new entry, it is low as there exist maximum restrictions for the new entrants in the automotive industry of Malaysia. Therefore, Proton and Perdua face less threat for this new entrants. For the threat of rivalry, it is low to moderate because there are few players in the Malaysian automotive market and only few players lead the market in the competitions. Threat of substitute is also low because it does not pose a huge threat to businesses, including both domestic and international car manufacturers in Malaysia, as people prefer owning personal cars rather than to take substitutes such as public transports. Next slide, please. All right, for the type of market structure, the automotive industry in Malaysia is identified as an oligopoly type of market structure with few players controlling the market and setting the prices. So as defined, it is a market structure where major companies control an industry in particular through restrictive trade practices such as collusion and market sharing. So the market structure is being determined by the number of players in the market, their relative bargaining power regarding the ability to set prices and concentrations between them. So instead of competing, oligopolies are more on collaborating on economies of sales, market demand, as well as in product differentiation. So therefore, it can be concluded that these firms are maximizing their market profits while they reduce market competitions through non-price competitions and product differentiations. Next slide, please. All right. So for the elaborations, Malaysia's automotive industry characteristics as an oligopoly. First characteristic is the high barriers to entry. In Malaysian automotive industry, there is a low threat of new entrants as the country trades protectionism such as import duties, taxes, tariffs, and customs that make imported goods expensive to reduce the demand on foreign firms. A second characteristic is the price-making power, where Proton and Perdua are both very influential to decide the price of their products, where the rest of the minor players follow the same. So by increasing core capabilities and building a loyal client base, Proton and Perdua ensure non-price rivalry. Same with interdependence of firms. Because of their large size and minimal competition, Proton and Perdua is an oligopoly. Market structure influences the others. So all of this automobile producers are interdependent in oligopolistic market. They must consider the impact and reactions of other businesses while setting their and investment plans. Next slide, please. For the fourth characteristics of an oligopoly, both Proton and Perdua ensures that they provide customers with something the other firm does not provide. This results to both firms improve their and exterior and interior designs, body components, for example, and audio equipments to keep the people loyal to their brands. And this is one of the oligopoly characteristics where the firms focus on improving the product quality to make their brand unique. As for the non-price competition, oligopolies such as Proton and Perodua do not stress competing with each other on the price of on the pricing. So instead, they are trying to approach different approach, such as rewarding customer for their loyalty and differentiations of their product offerings and sales promotion schemes. They do it strategically so they do not lose their customers. That's all from my part and for my team. Thank you, Prof.
Okay, thank you guys.
Thank you.